By employing the dialectical process and comprehending the logic guiding the evolution of various forms of consciousness, one can start to grasp the situation in which we find ourselves. In applying a speculative philosophical approach, I aim to explore how and why we have the current types of governments. Whether it is democracy, a democratic republic, constitutional monarchy, communism, or socialism, they share commonalities. My objective is to demonstrate that these government forms are now obsolete. Without seeking better alternatives, they may either follow historical patterns of rise and fall or lead to enduring totalitarian dystopias that are challenging to overcome. However, by employing speculative philosophy to comprehend the emergence of these government forms, I suggest developing a degree of compassion, avoiding resentment or hatred toward these outdated institutions, and instead being grateful for their inevitable and necessary role in the unfolding evolution of history. To initiate this exploration, I propose a fundamental change in the terminology we have long used for the institution we live under, commonly referred to as the government. The reason for this change is to establish a clear distinction between the concept of a government and its intended meaning. The term government is derived from the Old French word governor, which traces back to the Latin gubernare, meaning to direct, rule, guide, govern. This Latin root is derived from the Greek word kybernon, meaning to pilot a ship. Additionally, contrary to popular belief, the word can also be interpreted as to govern the mind, as in govern, to guide or rule, and meant, as in the mind, implying a form of mind control. Although this interpretation may not align with the widely accepted etymology of the word, it draws attention to the observed actions of various governments. Notably, governments, regardless of their political systems, communism, socialism, democracy, etc., are heavily involved in controlling the information available to their citizens. This observation contributes to the current challenges associated with the concept of free speech. This leads me to propose a more suitable term for such an institution for the future paradigm. The term trust holds two meanings. The first denotes a legal agreement between two parties, indicating something committed or entrusted to one to be used or cared for in the interest of another. The second definition refers to an assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something, a situation in which confidence is placed. It is this latter definition that is meant to encapsulate the essence of the phrase, the trust, which, in this philosophy, will serve as a replacement for the term government. To explore this through a speculative lens and the dialectical process, framing it as a historical inevitability manifested into reality, we can delve into the necessity of government in ancient times. Even preceding the governing bodies known from Mesopotamia, it is reasonable to infer a genuine need to influence the minds of a group of people, uniting them and enabling them to live together in a relatively civilized manner by force. This necessity becomes more apparent when considering the various recorded incidents of catastrophic near-extinction events that humanity has endured, documented in both the Bible and modern archaeology. In terms of religion, this might explain myths about a displeased God sending a flood to cleanse the earth of wicked souls due to his disappointment with humanity. Consider being a lonely survivor or part of a small group following such an event. In this scenario, you would likely welcome the idea of being bound by chains, if only to ensure that others who might harm you are similarly restrained. However, the primary sense of relief would come from discovering a semblance of civilization where you can start living with a larger community in a relatively safe manner, engage in conversations, and, most importantly, access shelter and food, regardless of how subpar it might be compared to your previous way of life. Freedom from such a situation would not only be undesirable, but in fact something to avoid. This could be the genealogy of the story of Adam and Eve, offering a very real warning to those within the kingdom of God. The danger of venturing beyond the secure walls of what we might consider a prison, but to the people of that time, a paradise compared to the world beyond, still scarred from a previous catastrophe, depicted as the wrath of God. Fast forward to our lives today, significantly removed from the harsh realities of living in the aftermath of near-extinction events. In this era, far removed from such threats, we not only have the pleasure but also the obligation to emancipate ourselves from the religious and state laws that were deemed necessary during those earlier periods of history. In our modern era, we have advanced to the point of mitigating, so to speak, the potential wrath of God. Through technological innovations, we aim to detect and divert an incoming threat, ensuring that it bypasses Earth. With our newfound scientific capabilities, humanity can now prevent a potential restart of a civilized human species. This marks a significant shift in our history, liberating us from the adherence to old political philosophy such as that of Thomas Hobbes and his Leviathan. Hobbes' quotes remain highly influential and widely discussed today. One of his notable statements is, "The right of nature is the liberty each man hath to use his own power, as he will himself, for the preservation of his own nature, that is to say, of his own life." According to Hobbes, the state of nature resembled an existence where each individual lived solely for themselves, characterized by extreme competition and a lack of mutual care. He argued that unlimited freedom among people would lead to chaos and a state of war. Furthermore, Hobbes believed that humans, being naturally vainglorious, seek to dominate others and demand respect. If you've watched my previous video on Hegel, titled From Self-Consciousness to Reason, Advancing to Spirit and Absolute Knowing, you'll notice a contradiction in Hobbes' description of the state of nature, resembling an existence where each individual lived solely for themselves. While this may accurately describe individuals in history, on the other hand, Hegel's observation on the forms of consciousness provides a deeper, more comprehensive understanding of human consciousness. This understanding opens up new possibilities that can benefit the human species for the future. Contrary to Hobbes, who argued that unlimited freedom among people would lead to chaos and a state of war, Hegel asserts that we need absolute freedom for spirit, or Geist, to continue its inevitable and necessary manifestation into concrete reality. Addressing Hobbes's belief that humans, being naturally vainglorious, seek to dominate others and demand respect, Hegel explores this in the phenomenology of spirit, specifically in the master and servant dynamic, as clearly described in my previous video. To articulate the features of a new government, henceforth referred to as the trust, we can draw insights from Hegel's depiction of the decline of ancient Greece, a period he identifies as the historical Eden from which modern humanity has deviated. Hegel argues that in ancient Greece, ethical life was characterized by harmony and equilibrium. It represented a form of uncomplicated freedom, where individuals followed their internal laws, embodying a concept he termed beautiful individuality. This simplicity extended to the political structure of the city-state, and briefly creating idyllic and democratic society. The ethical life of this era resembled a finely crafted work of art, where all elements harmoniously coexisted. Each individual enjoyed democratic participation in governance, and the freedom to pursue personal endeavors. To recall the philosopher R.C. Solomon's suggestion, Geist refers to a kind of shared or common general consciousness present in all individuals. Additionally, as Hegel asserts, Geist is powered by individual desire, will, and choice. It seems the path of spirit or Geist in history has taken 2 steps forward, then 1 step back. Alternatively, to provide another image for the way spirit manifests into concrete reality, think of a spiral. A spiral has a circular dimension, where we revisit the same kinds of consciousness as we traverse within the circle. However, a spiral also has another dimension. As it moves in a circular motion, it doesn't revisit the exact point, but rather does so on a higher plane. So, as we refer to past forms of idyllic states of existence, such as the Greeks with their lives consisting of political participation for all individuals, where they experienced ethical life, characterized by harmony and equilibrium, and a form of uncomplicated freedom. The downside was they depended on slavery to achieve this. To use the spiral metaphor, we should revisit this form of living but on a higher plane. We have to eliminate the use of slavery, and this can be done in our era by the same way we can mitigate near-extinction scenarios, by the use of technology. There is another philosopher, Hannah Arendt, a prominent political philosopher of the 20th century. She delved deep into the nature of politics and the distinct dimensions it holds in social life. In her comprehensive works, she explored the essence of the political, differentiating it from the social, economic, and cultural aspects. Arendt argued that modern politics had overlooked the teachings of Aristotle, particularly the separation of the public and private realms. In ancient Greece, the term oikos denoted the household, giving rise to our contemporary word economy. Aristotle understood the oikos as private, pertaining to the satisfaction of biological needs within the home. The public realm, in contrast, represented the political realm, a space distinctly separated from the fulfillment of biological needs, according to Arendt's interpretation of Aristotle. Arendt identified three forms of the vita activa, or the active life: labor, work, and action. Labor, as Arendt defined it, involved cyclic metabolic activities to produce biological necessities, such as farming. While necessary, labor was considered the lowest and least meaningful form of human activity. Work, on the other hand, encompassed the creation of artifacts, including art, architecture, and engineering, activities producing durable objects with cultural significance. Action, the third form, specifically referred to politics, involving deeds and speeches in public forums. Arendt's critique of the modern age, written in the 1950s, targeted both liberal capitalism in the West and Marxism in the East. She argued that they shared a detrimental trait, subjugating politics to economics. In both systems, public life became synonymous with the collective organization of a massive economy. Arendt maintained that this alignment misplaced the priorities, as, according to Aristotle, politics should take precedence over economics. For Aristotle, politics was intrinsically valuable, surpassing the importance of economic activity. Economic pursuits addressed private biological necessities, enabling individuals to engage meaningfully in political activities within the public realm. Arendt endorsed civic republicanism, a conception of a free society where citizens actively participate in political governance. Beyond being a political theory, Arendt's views extended to a broader understanding of the human condition. She argued that the meaning of human existence transcended nature, biological needs, or ecology. Instead, it rested on two pillars: the free action of human agents in politics and the construction of durable cultural objects, providing a meaningful artificial environment. In her perspective, nature alone lacked profound meaning, and it was human creative activity that bestowed life with significance. In the context of describing the trust, it becomes evident that there must be a considerable emphasis on individual participation in politics. This emphasis goes beyond the need for transparency within the system. While transparency is undoubtedly crucial, it is just as important as it aligns with Hegel's description of ancient Greece, a well-crafted work of art where all elements harmoniously balance together. For Hegel, this harmony was achieved through every individual enjoying democratic participation in governance. According to Hannah Arendt, the reason for emphasizing individual participation in politics is that this action encapsulates the essence of the human condition. To incorporate elements that the Greeks have taught us, we can look to ancient Greece, where the state had to be small enough for individuals to participate in face-to-face discourse in a forum. And because the population had to be somewhat small, this made it vulnerable to being easily overthrown by a larger outside force. Today, this may not be such an issue. Our modern era is vastly different from ancient life, where a rival country could invade it at any point in time. Thankfully, today, in the most part, this is something we have outgrown. In any case, due to our social networks, it would be possible to have a large number of people participate in a political forum. Then, the question that may be on all of our minds is, can we learn to participate in these forums in the way Hegel suggests? Can all participating self-conscious beings shake off the master and servant dynamic and adopt his advice that consciousness desires to be recognized by another self-conscious being of equal value? This, in turn, would help prevent conflicts, as being recognized by someone lacking value or respect diminishes the significance of recognition itself. If we can achieve this, the unhappy consciousness, or in modern terminology, depression, would become a thing of the past, and Stoicism and skepticism would no longer be necessary forms of consciousness to pursue.